Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island Podcast. I'm Jack Kennedy,
And I'm Mace Martinez.
and this is your podcast for the latest in MMA. I'm Jack Kennedy, and they hit a lot harder, in my opinion, too.
Mace Martinez.
He put Aldo stiff in 13 seconds before Bruce Buffer could even plant his ass in his seat.
I'm Marcos Diaz. You can't keep getting opportunities if you get hurt.
And this is the MMA Island Podcast.
All right, so hello, everyone. We have a great podcast for you. Lots to talk about. A lot of news that we'll get into. And continuing our last podcast, we will be giving you the women's 135, men's 135, and both of the 145-pound division champions for the end of the year. So with that, let's get into it. Dana White said in a surprising thing that Robert Whittaker will not be the next in line, or he said that he will need one more fight to get a shot at the middleweight champion. What are you making of this crazy news that Dana White said?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why you wouldn't give Robert Whittaker the next shot. He just beat the number 3 and number 4 guys in the division, Cannonier and Teal. So
Yeah,
I know Costa's maybe looks like might be next for Whittaker. But does Costa get a title shot if he somehow beats Whittaker? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Adesanya just schooled him. So why would he be in line with a win over Whittaker? I think Costa should be fighting Teal or Cannonier or somebody like that.
Yeah.
I don't understand really why he's in a number 1 contender fight or why they're trying to line that up after just getting worked. Like, he needs to prove that he's ready, and he didn't look ready the last time he was in there.
Oh, yeah.
Whittaker, in my opinion, actually he is. He's a legit number 1 contender. He's in the number 1 spot, so he should be next for Adesanya at middleweight. I know that Adesanya's got the Blachowicz fight scheduled, so the outcome of that will determine, I guess, what he does next. But yeah, to me, it makes no sense for Dana to say that. I think Whittaker definitely deserves to get the rematch against Adesanya, considering his reign as champion, and just the fact that he deserves the rematch. So that's shocking to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. After just beating Cannonier, who I thought he still is one of the top contenders in that division, especially an up-and-coming guy, and just really dominating him up until the last seconds of the fight. He won every round, in my opinion. And after beating a couple opponents before that, Darren Till before that, which was a crazy fight. That was so technical and everything, and Darren Till's a very tough fighter, especially at middleweight. To come back and do that, I don't know who else he would do that. Vettori is not there yet. He needs one more fight, which I thought he would fight Paulo Costa coming off the loss, and the winner of that could be next in line after Robert Whittaker. But Robert Whittaker is just on that. He just has that much more pedigree. Just like you said, he was a champion for the longest time at middleweight. Beat some really tough guys. Yoel Romero twice.
Yes.
He's been the champion. I would argue you could have given him the immediate rematch against Israel Adesanya. Now, I don't think he wanted that, but he's more, in my opinion, than earned his shot back at the title after what he's done. So I'm shocked by this. I don't think he should fight Paulo Costa. I don't think Paulo Costa deserves that after what we just saw against Israel Adesanya. He looked like he really didn't deserve that title shot to begin with when he was in there. He was outclassed every second. So I don't think Paulo Costa is one fight away from a title fight. For me, the only reason that Dana White would say this is because they need a filler fight, potentially for an interim belt, because Israel Adesanya is going up to light heavyweight. That's the only real thing that makes sense. But for me, Robert Whittaker, if he's getting a raw deal here, and I think he definitely deserves it. And I think Paulo Costa should not be in the mix, but he should be fighting Marvin Vettori, in my opinion. That's the fight to make at the next fight. And then Darren Till or maybe Darren Till too. Who knows? So that's for me. That's what I'm thinking about this. So if I'm Robert Whittaker, I'm fighting back a little bit about this. If I'm Robert Whittaker, I want that title shot. 100%.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, next up. Now, this is another huge fight announcement. We've been talking about 155 a lot recently with everything that's been going on. But Justin Gaethje, who we thought would be possibly fighting the winner of Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor, is heavily rumored to be fighting Charles Oliveira, who just came off a massive win over Tony Ferguson. What are you making of this news and just the impact that it would have for 155?
I don't mind that fight at all. Obviously,
Yeah.
like I mentioned on the last one, I think Oliveira deserves a title shot. And you got the number 1 and number 3 guy going at it. Obviously, the number 2 guy is busy on January 23rd. So
Yep.
I think this is a great fight. I think it's a great way to keep Gaethje in the mix and get Oliveira closer to that title shot. I think the winner of 257's main event will face the winner of this fight
Yeah.
For the belt if the title's relinquished, which I think is going to happen. As far as the fight goes, I like Oliveira in the fight. I think Gaethje's best chance is to knock him out. But Oliveira is better on the ground, in my opinion. I think he'd have the advantage there. I just feel like there's more ways for Oliveira to win this fight than there is for Gaethje. And obviously they both Gaethje's coming off a loss, but before that, they've both destroyed Tony Ferguson. Just Oliveira was just so much more impressive on the ground than me, at least. But I have to give the edge to Oliveira in that fight. I think he's cruising along at the right time. He's coming along at the right time, and I don't think Gaethje is the one to stop him. I think he gets a title opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I think this is a great fight to make, and honestly, I think this is the fight to make for the UFC. Obviously, Justin Gaethje coming off that loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov, who I think, like you, I don't think he's coming back. I think he's made it very clear that he does not want to come back. I think the only person he would really want to come back for would be GSP, and I don't think that fight's gonna take place at the moment. So
right.
That's what I'm thinking. So and Charles Oliveira coming off a massive win over Tony Ferguson. We've never seen anyone dominate Tony Ferguson like that, especially on the ground. So a massive win for him. I don't know. I like this matchup. The other Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, those are the other 2 guys that you put up for the belt. For me, these are the other 2 guys. It's almost like a mini tournament forming itself up,
yes.
And then the winners fight. I love it. As for the fight, I like Oliveira too. We just saw Gaethje kind of get dominated on the ground, and if he is a bit too hesitant on the feet, which I think he would be, especially just in his last result, and gets taken down one time, gets tripped one time by Oliveira, I don't like that fight for Gaethje, and Oliveira is so skilled on the ground. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like Oliveira in this matchup, and Oliveira is such a weird fighter in this division with his skill set he brings that I wouldn't want to match up anyone against Oliveira right now. We'll see, though. Gaethje is as tough as they come. Maybe he makes the right adjustments, but overall, this is just a fight to make for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing when it is scheduled.
Yeah, Oliveira is going to be a problem for anybody.
Oh, yeah. 100%. All right, our next piece of news, we keep on rolling here. Curtis Blades versus Derek Lewis. This was supposed to happen back in December, I believe. Got called off because of COVID. It has officially been rescheduled for February. I believe it's February 20th is the date as of right now. What do you think about this fight and being rescheduled kind of far down from when it was originally scheduled?
Yeah, I don't think the UFC could help that really. But as far as I like the fight, 2 guys in the top 5. Blades is on a 4-fight win streak. This past year he beat Dos Santos and Volkov. And then Lewis also had a pair of wins over Latifi and Alexei Oleinik, I believe, was his last one. I think that it's a great fight. I don't think it goes the distance. Really, I can't see these guys going the distance. I mean, if I see a finish here, I think it's Lewis who gets the finish. I think these guys need to do something exciting to kind of stay in the conversation because we all know that John Jones is coming to the heavyweight division.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to get a lot of attention, as it should. And then obviously Stipe is the current champ, and Ngannou's still in there. He's trying to take that belt pretty soon. And then you have Rosenstruck that's still in the mix. So these guys got to make something happen where the winner is going to remain relevant. It's weird to say they're both in the top 5, but you have such a megastar in John Jones that's fixing to come to that division that it's going to draw a lot of attention. So I think that someone's got to win dramatically to kind of keep themselves out there. I feel like the one to drop this fight can be thrown by the wayside a little bit and kind of forgotten. Even so. But like I mentioned, I think Lewis takes his fight, and I think he gets it done by finish. I think he KOs him.
That's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that. Curtis Blades, we just saw him beat Volkov in his last fight by basically just taking him down and doing nothing the entire fight. kind of coasted to a victory. And he actually almost got finished in the end, which is actually kind of cool to see. So, in my opinion, that did actually not very good for his stock in the division. Yeah, it rose him up in the rankings a little bit, but he's already been knocked out by Ngannou twice. So really, you can't match them up again because what more can you learn from that fight?
Right.
He's in a tricky situation, Curtis Blades. So I'm with you. Especially, Derek Lewis has already proved that he can finish people 100%. And I think if he does win this fight, it's going to be by a finish because that's really how he wins. Curtis Blades needs to make a statement in this fight, especially for him, in my opinion. Because if he just does another take him down, lay it out victory, he's not going to move up. He's not going to move up, especially with everything that's going on. John Jones, I completely forgot about Rosenstruck. You completely reminded me of him. He's still a monster in that division.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see his stock going up. He needs a win. He needs a finish. He just needs to make a statement. Even if it goes to decision, you need to be winning every single round dominantly, in my opinion. You need to make a huge statement, just like you said, for Curtis Blades especially. As for the fight, I don't know. I'm leaning towards Curtis Blades just because of his cardio, his takedown ability. But who knows? We saw a huge weakness whenever he was in the 5th round. He could barely take Volkov down in that last 5th round. And he was taking some dangerous shots. Volkov was also tired. But Derek Lewis, we saw him knock out Volkov with like 5 seconds left. And he was being dominated the entire fight. Derek Lewis has that one-shot KO power that he could land on Curtis Blades. So that's a very interesting part of that fight. Right now, I'm leaning towards Blades, thinking about it just because of his takedowns. But Derek Lewis could land that one shot, and it's one shot, and he's done. So my pick right now is Blades, but we'll see come later. That's what I'm thinking about right now.
Nice.
All right. So the last bit of news, and this is huge for everybody that loves the UFC as steps forward, whether it's for the good or the worse. We'll see. Fans are apparently going to be allowed on Fight Island for the upcoming 3 fight nights, including the Conor McGregor fight. Now, it is not full capacity, at least I don't think so. But still, it is closed fans in an arena, first time since the lockdown. What do you make of this on Fight Island?
Yeah, the fans are back for the first time since March, so almost an entire year. I think it's limited capacity for sure, but it's a huge deal. The fighters, you've heard a lot of them say they feed off of the fans. So it's going to be a huge deal for them to get them back. Obviously, it's exciting for the fans to be able to witness these events live. Like I said last episode, it's a shame that we've had these fights in 2020 that have like the Joanna and Whaley fight, the fights of the year candidates and the one that won fight of the year. I mean, for those that happen in empty arenas, there's just a sad thing. I mean, you can imagine the atmosphere if the fans were there. Hopefully this is the beginning of the end for COVID-19, and we can start to see more and more fans back in attendance. And, sooner rather than later, the UFC can start selling out arenas again. But just to get them back, even at a limited capacity, is huge. And I'm sure it's exciting for the fighters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting because all these fights, like you've said, have been amazing. Just the level of it gets me excited whenever I'm watching it and the crowd's going crazy and everything. It adds another level of excitement. And it, I think, empowers the fighters to fight even harder. And they've been fighting amazing during the lockdown. It empowers them to fight even harder whenever you're hearing people screaming. It's amazing. So I can't wait to hear the fans and even if it's a little bit, it's going to be amazing in the Etihad Arena, the new arena they built on Fight Island. So I am so excited. Step in the right direction. I don't know if this would be done in the U.S. I doubt that would be allowed with all the restrictions, and the numbers have been going up a little bit. So, but in Abu Dhabi where they're doing it, who knows what's going on? Who knows what they allowed? So it's a perfect place to do it. And I mean, come on, you have to have fans for a McGregor fight. You have to. So, it's exciting, and I can't wait to, even if it's 1,000 people there. I can't wait to hear fans in a UFC fight again.
It's going to be interesting to see the ticket prices for these events. The attendance is limited.
If they're even out there, or if it's just closed in, people allowed in. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So this is our last segment, and we started this our last podcast. We're going to continue until we're done with all the weight divisions. We have 4 today, but I believe that's because 2 of them are going to be pretty easy to predict. We're going to start out with women's 135 pounds bantamweight. Current champion is Amanda Nunes. Who do you think will be the champion by the end of the year?
I'm going with Amanda. I mean, how can you not? she's a consensus greatest female fighter of all time, and she's beaten most of the top 5 contenders. I think the only one she hadn't beat is Aspen Ladd, who's number 3, and Irene Aldana, who's now number 5. And the only reason she hadn't beaten them is because she hadn't fought them yet. I think the only ones in the division that could make it somewhat interesting would be Jermaine Durandamy and maybe Holly Holm. And they can make it interesting. Can they beat her? I don't think so. At the end of the day, like we've talked about before, I think Valentina Shevchenko is the only actual challenge for Nunes, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, at 135, she's the champion. She remains the champion, and I don't even think there's really competition, to be honest.
Yeah. No doubt about that. Nunes for me, of course, as well. Kind of for everything you just said. There's the level of competition is getting a lot better, but still no one is on her level. It's just like Shevchenko. No one is on Amanda Nunes' level, especially, 135 is more stacked than 145. We'll talk about 145 later, but just Amanda Nunes all the way, 100%. All right. So this is a very interesting division here. Men's 135 pounds bantamweight. Current champion is Piotr Jan. A lot of competition. Who are you predicting is your champion by the end of the year?
Jan has his work cut out for him in that division.
Oh, yeah.
135 is tough. Obviously, Aljamain Sterling is next. I think that's just been confirmed for March for 259, I believe. So, and then you got Corey Sandhagen, Cody Garbrandt is in the mix. Edgar and Font, they round out the top 5, and then TJ is set to come back. So you got to see where he's going to end up. Jan is a great champion. He's got a ton of skill. Can he keep the belt? It's maybe. Is it likely? I don't think so. Not in my opinion. It all depends on his activity as well.
Yeah.
How many times he's going to be tested. But the level of competition that he has, the number of contenders that he has, it's going to be hard to run through those guys without facing some kind of adversity and taking a loss. In my opinion, I actually think Aljamain Sterling is gonna be the one to take the belt from. I think that's going to happen. It's a toss-up in this division. If we're talking about who's going to be the champion at the end of the year, I see Jan or Sterling, really. I think whoever wins it in March will hold on the belt the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's interesting. Piotr Jan he looked phenomenal against Jose Aldo, but he did kind of show some weaknesses. Jose Aldo did have some early success, and those contenders are just going to be pouring on. Bantamweight is becoming so stacked right now. You were mentioning all those guys, and then now TJ Dillashaw is getting thrown in the mix. So it's so stacked. And we just saw Rob Font fight and beat Marlon Moraes decisively. It's crazy. So I'm going to say this. This is my bold prediction here. I think Aljamain Sterling beats Piotr Jan. Then I think Aljamain Sterling defends his belt against Corey Sandhagen at the end of the year, and I think Corey Sandhagen beats Aljamain Sterling. And I think it's going to be one of the best bantamweight fights ever, those two guys matching up. So my end of the year prediction is Corey Sandhagen to take the belt. He looks amazing. Watching him fight recently and everything against top contenders, he's looked phenomenal, almost unbeatable. Aljamain Sterling has looked amazing as well, and he's overdue for a title shot. Way overdue. And they were still talking about not giving him a title shot with TJ Dillashaw coming back, which is ridiculous. Right. He's going to get his title shot finally. And I think he poses just such a weird stylistic matchup for Piotr Jan. If they rematch, who knows? But I just think going into it the first time with the coaching he has as well, I think he's going to be able to really pose an awkward style and maybe even submit Piotr Jan. So I have Aljamain Sterling in that fight whenever they do match up. And then Corey Sandhagen, he has such a weird style himself too. So it's a weird style matching up against each other. But Corey Sandhagen, I think, is a little bit more well-rounded than Aljamain Sterling. And so that's who I would have winning that one. So craziness. I think it's going to be one of the most chaotic, amazing years for men's bantamweight. And I'm going to go ahead and take Corey Sandhagen as my champion at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think the men's bantamweight division is the hardest one for me, in my opinion, to predict who can be the champ because there's so many contenders there. So I don't think we'll have that issue with any of the other divisions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now, one that won't be too hard to predict, I think. Women's 145 pounds featherweight. Amanda Nunes, the champ. Who do you think will be the champ at the end of the year?
So, have you seen the rankings on the UFC app for the women's featherweight division? That there are no rankings. It's just a picture of Amanda Nunes. It says women's featherweight, and it's a picture of Amanda Nunes with her belt. That's it. So what that means is that the asses that she whips at 135 can put on 10 pounds and get their ass whipped at 145. Is all that means. Because obviously Megan Anderson is next. Do I think she's going to take the belt? No, I don't. I love Megan. I have a lot of respect for her. I just don't think she gets it done. But in reality, Nunes owns a belt to a division that doesn't exist, at least not yet. You know what I mean? In the UFC, and you know, like I said, women have to move up to fight, and it's crazy. But just like at 135, at 145, she's the champion. Like I said, the only one that I think would challenge her would be Shevchenko, and maybe Holly Holm moving up to 145, a little bit more weight behind her. Maybe she'd be a challenge or something like that. But I don't see anybody beating her. Obviously Cyborg's out of the promotion now, and that was supposed to be the huge, throw down and all that, and she just worked her over pretty quick too. So, nobody beats her. I don't think she's gonna be double champ probably until she retires.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right there. I would have liked to see Chris Cyborg again, rematch her, because Chris Cyborg was so dominant for a long time. She didn't really have anybody to fight her, and then Amanda Nunes came in and destroyed her. It's crazy.
Yes.
I don't know. There's really, for me, Amanda Nunes, I think, even fights better at 145 than she does at 135, because I think it's more of a natural weight class for her at 145.
She's fresher, yeah.
But like you said, all the other competitors that she would have, with the exception of maybe Jermaine Durandame, move up to fight her. So they're not only fighting Amanda Nunes, but they're fighting her at a heavier weight class. There's just no chance there at all for me. She's so dominant, and she remains champion in that weight class until someone is insane and comes in there and beats her, which who knows if that'll ever happen. So Nunes for me, 145.
I know the last couple of times she's fought, I know Durandamy went the full 5 rounds. It was a unanimous decision for Nunes. And then also against Felicia Spencer. I don't think that, they went all 5 rounds. I don't think that's because Nunes is dipping or anything like that. Those two women are just tough. Really tough. Yeah. And Felicia Spencer showed a lot of heart when she fought her. At the end of the day, it was a beatdown, but she hung in there. She lasted all 5 rounds. So it's not really a weakness or to downplay Nunes at all, that those fights went the distance. But those girls were just tough. But at the end of the day, Nunes is just head over heels better. The talent gap is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now, a very interesting division as well. Men's 145, men's featherweight, current champion, Alexander Volkanovski. Who do you think will be the champ by the end of the year?
So Volkanovski has the belt, and in my opinion, Holloway beat him in their rematch.
The people's champ, yeah.
That being said, Ortega's next in line, I believe. I think maybe February, right? Something like that. Mm-hmm. I think Ortega can beat him. I think by submission, and maybe on the feet as well, because Ortega looked incredible.
Oh yeah,
against the Korean Zombie. Like, the striking has improved tremendously. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We can thank Max Holloway for the new Brian Ortega. The work that Max put on him in that fight, it forced him to reevaluate everything, his entire situation, including his fighting style, and the changes that he made were just massive. I've never seen anybody improve that much in that short amount of time. I think it was out a year and a half, 2 years. So it's a decent amount of time, but he improved so much. Oh, yeah. Totally different fighter. So I think he can get it done. And Max is also a guy that can regain the belt, in my opinion. And he should have the belt currently, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
145 is exciting, just like 135. And they're both exciting divisions. I'm not sure who has the belt at the end of the year. I'm sure it'll be one of these 3 men. I don't see anybody else with it. If I had to put money on somebody, I would say, I don't know, with the way the judges are going. If they go to decisions, I would say Volkanovski. But I think I'd put money on Ortega or Holloway to have it.
Yeah, I like that. I'm with you. Holloway, I think, should be the champion right now. Ortega has looked amazing. I want to talk about him for a little bit, just like you did. To go out for it was basically almost 2 years. He worked on 100% striking because he got worked against Holloway, just completely dominated on the feet. And then he went out there. It looked like he just completely worked on the striking. And then he goes out there and fights the Korean Zombie and outclasses him on the feet. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. He seriously outstruck one of the best strikers in that division right there in the Korean Zombie, one of the toughest guys as well, dropped him with a spinning elbow. He looks incredible, so well rounded. I thought he was going to go on a downward spiral. Especially he was the undefeated fighter before he lost to Holloway. Then he lost, and a lot of times they take some time off and then they lose. He got his head right. He looked incredible. He's one, in my opinion, he's already one of the best strikers in that division now. He looks amazing off of one fight against a top contender. And we already know he has elite level jiu-jitsu. That's what really got him to where he is right now.
Yes.
So now with that skill set plus the striking, and he's going to be the taller guy against Volkanovski as well. I have him as a massive favorite over Volkanovski. Volkanovski is very tough, but if he gets hurt on the feet a little bit and then gets staggered and then taken down, I don't think he can get back up. And I think that's a sub for Ortega. So Holloway is definitely in the mix. We could see Ortega-Holloway rematch by the end of the year. But I'm going to go ahead and say just off of that one fight, because that whole division can be chaotic from down there. Who knows what goes on? I'm going to say Ortega is my champion by the end of the year. If he looks as good as he did against the Korean Zombie, he looks incredible. So Ortega is my pick for the end of the year at 145.
Yeah, I think if Ortega can get past Volkanovski, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily think that Volkanovski deserves an immediate title rematch because he's lost. In my opinion, he lost to Max.
Yep.
He got beat.
Absolutely.
The judges didn't see it that way. Now, like you just said, what I would love to see again would be Ortega and Holloway, because then you will really see the improvements that Ortega made, because he just got schooled, overwhelmed by Holloway the first time. So those improvements will really stand out if they can run it back again, and if Holloway is able to beat Max or just prove that he's gotten better, you'd be able to see that 100%. But that'd be great to see Holloway and Ortega again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say one thing real quick. I hope we're not trying to diss Calvin Kattar, but I think Max Holloway is so skilled whenever they fight that it's going to be tough for Calvin Kattar to get in, especially with his style. He likes to wait to strike. He takes some time to get into it. Holloway is one of those guys that if you wait to get into it, the fight's going to be over. You're already going to lose all 5 rounds. So that's just where I'm at with that, thinking that. So I think Holloway gets past Kattar whenever they fight, and and I think I agree with you. He should be next in line. I think you already beat Volkanovski. I don't think you rematch them for the title shot. I think Holloway goes right to the top. That's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this podcast. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can listen everywhere, iTunes, Spotify. Leave a review where you can. We're on Instagram at MMA Island and on our website, MMAisland.net. Thank you guys again so much for listening, and great podcast, Mace.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.